All right, we're going into our third and final segment of our program today. I have asked our 3 economic development directors to share their big picture reflections on the opportunities and challenges for economic development in their jurisdictions. So we're going to talk Orange County, Carrboro, and Chapel Hill. I've asked them to not bring a presentation today and just speak from their heart, again, for just 3 minutes. We'll start with Annette Stone, Director of Economic and Community Development for the town of Carrboro. Let's see here, Annette, a little bit about her. She is an experienced development director, skilled in land use planning, economic development, urban planning, and local government. She came to Carrboro from the beautiful city of New Bern, where she served as their city planner. Annette, please share your reflections.
Gosh, I've been sitting too long. You can tell. Good morning, everyone. It's a great presentation. Really appreciate this opportunity to sort of recap, rethink everything that we're doing collectively. As you heard this morning, our downtown is changing with South Green and with Shelton Station. The dynamics that will bring are going to be really interesting changes for our downtown. It makes me think it's kind of fattening up our downtown. It's getting bigger, which is really important, and we'll just have to see how those changes impact the downtown over time. I wanted to mention Lloyd Farm is still on track. It's, if you're not familiar with it, out by Carrboro Plaza. There'll be a new grocery store. They've gotten some preliminary zoning out there, and they're on track to get their full CUP by the end of the year. We're very hopeful. So that is another large project coming to Carrboro. I wanted to mention, I think one of the most important things that I'd ask for y'all to keep your eye out for in the upcoming year is comprehensive planning. So there are a lot of changes happening. We are growing. I don't want to call them pains, but we are going through a growing spurt, and the market is changing, and the town is undertaking a comprehensive planning process. You'll hear us talking about that and having opportunities for engagement, and what does the next iteration of Carrboro look like. So I really encourage everyone to participate and be a part of that project. So those are my comments.
Thank you, Annette. Next up is Steve Brinkley, Director of Economic Development for Orange County. Steve worked in economic development for more than 30 years, with nearly 10 of those here in Orange County, where he helped recruit Japanese candy company Morinaga, makers of Haichu, a chewable fruit candy. Before Orange County, Steve worked at the North Carolina Department of Commerce, helping 4 governors and 5 commerce secretaries recruit new business and industrial facilities to the state from Japan, South Korea, Hong Kong, Taiwan, and China. He was also a commercial banker and served in the U.S. Navy. Thank you for your service. Welcome, Steve. Please share your reflections.
Good morning. We've all seen examples here of some amazing development projects in our towns, mixed use and development-led private projects. Hillsborough also has its own share of things that are moving forward. The county is in a way a developer in the sense of putting utilities in our economic development districts. I can't cover everything the county does, rural and urban, but the county's involved in quite a few things. And I need to mention the Orange County Board of Commissioners that are leading that effort. They consider economic development one of their top priorities. They are going to be approving the next county budget that continues our efforts in several programs, some of which are unique for what we do in the county to serve additional residents. That could include people in farming and agriculture, people who rely on tourism and the arts, particularly small business, the launch incubator that we co-fund with Chapel Hill and UMC. And so that leadership and commitment, their sincere willingness to listen to our advisory board and our staff about our ideas is, I consider that quite an opportunity. They also have kicked off what we call One Orange, which is to further the collaboration that the county and the towns and the leadership, both elected and staff and residents have in terms of economic development. That has to do with further collaboration with our 2 chambers, our 3 town economic development professionals, the MAD with the downtown organization, UMC, and so forth. And so With respect to opportunities, I'm very excited for where we are. I think this is going to be the best year ever from the county's perspective since I've had the pleasure of being here, and there's more to come on that. With respect to challenges that are I'll remind everyone that what we do in terms of business recruitment occurs in a very competitive market. Some people want to be here. We've heard of some amazing projects that have been very patient through the years to finally develop what they have shown us today. There are other projects that are not familiar with Orange County or Chapel Hill or Carrboro or Hillsborough, and they're looking for the first time. And that means they're also looking at NC State Centennial Campus. They're looking at the Research Triangle Park. They're going to be looking at Chatham Park in the future. And so that competitive nature is best focused on not only with our marketing and us presenting our values, but also having what we call product, which would mean commercial office buildings release, lab space, sites for commercial retail type projects as well as light industrial. I mentioned what the county's doing with respect to other residents, and that includes the creation of blue collar jobs in the manufacturing, light manufacturing sector. In that regard, sometimes the inability to talk about what we're doing in the beginning is a challenge because we can't readily show value until that process, which is typically done in a more secretive manner, goes forward. And the last challenge I'll mention here is trying to distinguish our community amid a regionalism effort of promoting the triangle in general. And for some, we need to be more than just a bedroom community to the triangle. We need to have our own businesses that are paying taxes and employing our residents based in Orange County somewhere. Here's an example. On July 4th, the Triangle Business Journal had an article that said, "Massive Chapel Hill development, adding senior living." And I thought, that sounds great. I haven't heard of it. I read the article, and it's called Briar Chapel. I emailed Sugata Mukherjee, the TVJ editor, and I said, "Why don't you get this right? That's not Orange County. It's not Chapel Hill." And his response was, "Well, the developers for that project refer to it that way." So we need to try to distinguish who we are and what we're about. Thank you.
Thank you, Steve. Well done. Okay, next up, and finally, is Dwight. Dwight, we had you speaking before on Blue Hill. Now we'd like to hear your big picture reflections on all of Chapel Hill.
Thank you, Katie. So I think we've been on a journey that began in 2005 with elected officials in Chapel Hill looking at the need for economic development. My being hired in 2007, adopting an economic development strategy in 2008, seeing entitlement of square feet because we were non-competitive from 8 to 14, beginning to rewrite writing a commercial development strategy and adopting it in 2015. And subsequent steps like the enterprise zone on Millhouse so that we allow some diversity from a research and light manufacturing standpoint, something that had never been allowed previously in Chapel Hill under our zoning. And so I think we're on a very strategic path. It's taken very strategic steps to get us where we are today. It's not by happenstance. We are a very intellectual community, smart people, and that requires a lot of thinking and a lot of processes to get to that point. And so we don't see the rewards of effort come quickly. They come slowly because we're cautious and probably with calls. So I think we're positioned now better than we've ever been positioned before. I look at our inquiries over the last decade, and I look at the ones that we're talking to today, and they feel like a better quality of inquiries. They look more serious, and they're looking at enterprise zone, they're looking at downtown, and they're looking at bringing good employment to our citizens for the benefit of the future. So we still have opportunities. Steve is right. That would be probably one of my top two, is that we still struggle with a 30-year-old, 40-year-old image that we're not open to doing business. And no matter how much money we spend trying to tell that story differently, we sometimes occasionally reinforce it. And so I think we need to work on continuing to do a better job of doing our own storytelling. My biggest problem in Chapel Hill singularly is office space, and I'm thankful that council tonight will be considering incenting development for Glen Lennox. Coming out of the 2008 downturn and the beginning recovery, we completely lost our office market. It's the first time since 1969 that we went 7 consecutive years with 0 office space constructed. That's a really long time. And so we've got to turn that around. Carolina Square, the Station East 54 were good beginnings, but we need momentum. We need new office space coming out of the ground every year, and that will be a tremendous help. So hopefully we'll begin to see that happen with Glen Lennox tonight. And that's my recap.
Thank you, Dwight. Now I'd like to ask Dwight and Annette and Steve to come to the front and have a seat, and Aaron, keep close by here. We have a few minutes for some questions, comments, observations. All right, folks. Desiree?
So the one word that was not mentioned today at all is Mebane. And Mebane is part of the fastest growing area in Orange County. And they do housing, so they actually have houses for sale, but one of the ways that it impacts us primarily is just this week, they took land out of the Orange County office and industrial zone and made it now housing. So great for us, for Mebane, they got more housing. Chances are they're then going to annex it, which will put the money, the taxes into that instead of Orange, part Orange County, but less taxes rather than it being all county land, which affects us. Also affects us that we've now taken more land that was supposed to be commercial, no longer commercial, which affects all of us. And, we're slow on making things happen. Mebane's not. So they're going to keep growing. They're also a commuter neighborhood for us. So our Chapel Hill drive-through becoming more of a drive-through community because they're going to be living there, probably driving some way through somewhere. Same with Chatham, drive-through community. As much as we keep thinking we're staying small, we have these other forces, and we got a whole part of Orange County that we're not taking into account in our, and how much it's affecting when Mebane's growing and how it impacts Orange County. I would like you to address that, Steve.
Well, I anticipated Mebane is more affordable in terms of housing. 20% of that city is in Orange County. That includes most of the industries, the large industries in Orange County. They're either in the Mebane city limits or they're ETJ. Mebane is our partner in terms of a water sewer source for the industrial growth that the county's pursuing along the interstate from Hillsborough and west. So Mebane is someone we know well. We participate with, actually helped us recruit the Japanese company, and we have other very positive ties with them. I do think that even though there may be one example of some private property that converted to residential, looks like that's threatening, there is much more land, and the county is tactically looking at that now. The county commissioners are going to be addressing that later this year in terms of zoning and priorities. But Mebane, yes, residential growth can occur there very easily, but they also have a commitment not only to their industrial growth, but also Orange County's industrial growth. Because, and if something is annexed by Mebane, Orange County does not lose $1 in property tax. It's just that new entity on that site gets a Mebane city tax bill in addition to the Orange County